Hey, what's up everybody? How's everyone doing? All right, let's get into this. We are now on chapter 6, lesson 4. Today we're going to be talking about percents as fractions or decimals. Now, we've talked about the word equivalent, which means equal. And we've talked about what those numbers can equal. We're going to add another category to it. Let me show you. All right, so we know that if we have a number, let's just say the ratio is 1 to 5, that it also equals a fraction, which is 1 over 5, and then turning that into a percent, which would be what? How would we turn it into a percent? We'd have to make this into 100. Multiply this by what? 20. Multiply that by 20. And we will get 20 over 100. And percent is out of 100. And the answer would be 20%. Just like that. So we know that these are all equivalent. We know that 1 to 5 is same as saying 1 over 5. You could also say 1 to 5 is 20 over 100, and 20 over 100 is 20%. We could also say that 1 over 5 is 20%. This is all equal. Now we're going to add one more dimension to it. And that was a long bell. So let's pause this for now, and let's refresh this and try it again and add that new category. And you guessed it, the new category is decimals right here. So what we're going to do is take a ratio, which is going to also equal the same fraction, equal the exact same percent, and now we're going to introduce decimals because they're going to be the exact same thing. Sorry, excuse the noise in the background. We've got the class in the back and they're just paying attention. So let's take that that ratio that we did before. So if we have the ratio of 1 to 5, the fraction of 1 over 5, and we talked about what the percent was. The percent was 20%. The decimal would be 0 decimal 20. All right. Now some of you are asking, how in the world did we get that decimal? Maybe this is a good time right now to go back and really explain, because it would be a good refresher, to know what the place values are again. So let's move this up and let's talk about place value and come back to it. Okay, so I apologize here. I got to re-record this audio. Let's talk about place value. Can you try and find the place value for these numbers? I know that it's a blast from the past, but 0.345, what place value is the 3 in? What place value is the 4 in? And what place value, of course, would the 5 be in? So press pause and try and figure that out. So the 3 would be the tenths, the 4 would be the hundredths, and the 5 would be in the thousandths place. So this would be the place value, and I want you to understand and remember the different place value. So now, how does that relate to percent? Okay, so that we know that percent is something out of 100. We know that per is each, and then cent is 100. So something out of 100. Now, a decimal then relates in this way. Let's write our place value, tenths and 100ths. You see where I'm going with this? Okay, so if it's out of 100, and here we've got tenths and 100ths, let's try and figure out how we can equate percents and the place value or decimal. So percent to decimals. Okay, let's figure out a number we can use. Let's use a number 37. Okay, 37 over 100 is 37 hundredths. Do you see that? 37 over 100 is 37 hundredths. Let's use another example. 15 over 100 would be what? It would be 15 hundredths. If you're unclear with any of this, please go back and rewind it till you understand. So here's our earlier example. Can you tell me, and if you remember, that's great, but now based on knowing that we have 20%, which is 1 over 5. And we also talked that 1 over 5 is, maybe we can even cross, no, not cross it out, but let's go 20 over 100. What would the decimal be? If you guessed 0.20, that's correct, because they're all equivalent. Now, being able to convert like a ratio from 5 to 100 is probably one of the most tricky parts. So let me say that again. One of the more tricky parts is always trying to take your last ratio, your whole ratio, like 1 out of 5, and turning it into 100 right here. So you have to multiply by 20 to get a percent. That's probably one of the trickiest parts. But once you have that percent out of 100, you know that it's just place value. Now, another tricky part is, what happens if it's not out of 100 and it asks something like this? Yeah, because I just realized that the word place value was there. I gotta erase that, so ignore that. Thank you. Now, what if I had the fraction 1 over 10? Can you give me the decimal in tenths? What's the decimal in tenths? The answer would be 0.1. Super easy, right? Now, if we took this and we multiplied it and turned it into 100, would it still be the same? 0 times, let's actually change the color. Let's do, how do we make 10 times into 10 times what equals 100? And the answer is 10. I'm just trying to change colors here. Whoa, so many colors, it's like a rainbow. The answer would then be, and if you go down here, wow, it's so messy. Sorry guys, let me clean that up in a bit. Answer would be 10 out of 100. Okay, so now let's erase this so it cleans up just a little bit more. So 10 out of 100, you have this right here, which is a tenth. How do we turn that equivalent fraction into the proper decimal? Did you guys guess it correctly? By just doing this? Yeah, that's it. That's perfect. Now, remember, this is what I'm talking about, the trickiest part. 10, here, out of 100 is the decimal 0.10 hundredths. That is not the same as this. Let me erase this. Okay. If we had 1 out of 10, can you press pause and try and find out what the proper decimal is? All right. Were you able to guess 0.1 hundredths? Because that's correct. Remember, 0.10 is 10 100ths. That does not equal 1 over 100. This is 1 100ths. Okay, so this is incorrect. This is what I'm looking for. All right, let's do an example and we'll end that off. All right, so there we go. That's my deal with it picture. Now here's my question. So, how many times in 100 school days does Mr. Nicanor not come in a suit? What's the answer? The answer is, I don't know, let's just make it up. It's very little, but let's try it. It is, let's make a high number. 12 out of 100 days. All right. All right, 12 out of 100 days, Mr. Nicanor does not come to school in a suit. But let's be real, I always come in a suit. Okay, enough about me. Now let's talk about, and can we fill these parts out? Now what ratio? It would be 12 to 100. And we already have the fraction, and it's written there for us. It would be 12 over 100. Now we know that per 100, there's 12. So the percentage would be 12%. And can you guys guess the decimal? That's right, 0.12. 12/100ths. Very important, 100ths. All right, now I'm going to put a chart up, and I want to see if you guys can complete it. And that'll be the last activity. Okay, last activity. Now, can we maybe try and do this together really quickly? Please ignore the weird little dot booger thing there, because I have no idea what that is. It was in the textbook, and maybe I should wash my hands before we do this. Okay, let me pause and wash my hands. Okay. And we're back. Now, let's go through and try and answer this. If you want to press pause and answer it yourself really quickly, that'll be a great exercise. What I want to do is go through these sections first. So this one, fraction and percent, because we know that how to do that quickly. So 25% would be what out of 100? It would be 25 out of 100. Now, let's go backwards. Let's do 3 out of 100 to percent. And that would be what? Out of 100, it is 3%. Now, we were working on decimals. Can we do this together? 25 out of 100 would be 0.25 hundredths, right? And this is the tricky one again. What would now 3 out of 100 be? Would it be 0.3? Is that correct? That is actually incorrect. Because it's 3 hundredths, you would need to go 0.3 hundredths. Remember, this places the tenths, this places the hundredths. So it has to be 3 hundredths. Okay, so now 0.4. But there's no hundredths here. Can you press pause and try and figure out what this would be right here and right here? Since there's no hundredths, what would it be? Okay, so if you know that this is in the tenths place right here, 4 tenths, then we can write down that it would be 4 over 10. And what would that be to 100? So you multiply this by 10 because you want to get 100, multiply that by 10 to get 100, and it would then equal 40 over 100. And then what percent would that be? Because it's now out of 100, the answer is 40%. All right, I know there was a lot to tackle here because decimals is either new to some of you or difficult for a lot of you. I would highly recommend going back and rewatching everything that you weren't understanding. Sorry for the noise in the background. Hopefully it was clear. Again, rewatch things that were confusing to you. I would definitely watch it a couple times. I know it's a little bit longer because this concept is difficult. One of probably more difficult ones in grade 6. All right, have fun. Happy mathing.